Hey everyone, I'm outside again. At the right time this time. Perfect sun here. I quickly wanted to check who sent me this message on Instagram. She's a lovely person, always very supportive. Cosmic Element. Yes. Her name is Cosmic Element on Instagram. It's, I think, different on YouTube. But she told me that the video that I recently made about what you can see in pip arrangements, the way that the composition is made on the card, what you can see in there, that she found that helpful because she wants to get into Marseille, and I believe she's not the only one. And then asked me, please tell me which Marseille deck I should start with, because I think I think the system appeals to me, and the whole idea of reading with pips rather than with scenic pips, it appeals to me, but I'm not really into the traditional Marseille the way that it looks. That doesn't really appeal to me. And I said, my first Marseille is the Trionfi Della Paradoxical. So no worries there. This is far from a traditional Marseille, but it got me into reading these Marseille pips, because the composition and the arrangement is definitely the same than a traditional Marseille. So I have the Wands cards in front of me because I think it's easiest to see in the Wands how the sequence is made. Yes, she said, do you have some tip to study these cards, to learn how to see all the patterns? Just lay them out and look at them? Maybe a future video topic. And it is a good video topic. So here you go. She also said, wow, that answer really made me so happy when I answered my first tarot deck. My first Marseille tarot deck was the Trionfi Paradoxical. So you don't have to start with a deck that you don't actually like. Please start with a deck that you already love. I mean, I know, of course, working with a deck can make you fall in love with it, but I mean, with this stuff, I think it's so abstract. It's a good idea to start with something that you've fallen in love already. Actually, the entire reason I started Marseille isn't necessarily because I'm half French at all. It's actually because I fell in love with the Trionfi de la Luna Paradoxical. Okay. There are plenty of great videos about this, by the way. For instance, by Kelly Fitzgerald on The Truth in Story. She has made great Marseille pips videos. So this is really just a short version of that, I would say. And I'm going to take you with me. Can you see that? Yeah. This is the ace. So the ace means action, right? Then there's the two. You could say these are two aces. So there's a crossing, and that two you can see as either conflict because they are crossing, or actually inspiration because they are crossing and giving each other these, this motivation. We're talking about the element of fire here, or perfect balance. After all, it is a very equal cross. Then over here, there's a third one, which means this plus the ace, 3. See that? It's the action in between, so there's a type of disruption, but this means, since we're all in the beginning, it's hard to say disruption at this point. It's hard to go, really negative this early on in the numbers. So 3 here, I would say, is all about that creation and a bit of explosion even, really. Over here, 4, this 4 is the first stable number. And you can really see that here, even with the way that Patrick drew it. I mean, everything, right? It's about not only looking at the way that the wands are drawn, but actually also looking at the way the plants are drawn. You can get a lot of information from them, but I'm going to leave most of that up to you, yeah? It's all about finding your own meaning into it anyway. And since we're going to be working with different decks, yeah, you'll see different things in there. But I like these curls. Nowhere else in the wands, especially except for here, I meant to say, are these curls. So that really means that there's that flourish, that that comfort that actually happens for the very first time in the stability of creation, in the stability of willpower, in the stability of the element of fire. Then, after the first, because that's what the 4 means. I'm really rushing through this, but I hope you're okay with that. These cards are not going to do well in the sun, I think. I don't want to keep them out in the sun for too long. That's why I'm rushing a little bit. After this first stability, you could say, there's the first real disruption, because the first stability, and then it's like you kind of think that you made it, and then all of a sudden life goes on, and yeah, some negative stuff happens. The 5 really doesn't need to be negative, but it is that middle point of, well, there's a change, and we usually do not work very well with change, especially right after having been so comfortable. Yeah, this is really just a sequence. If you were to get this, it would be a different story, right? But anyway, from the 5 we have the 6, and the 6, you should know, is the most balanced number, and you can really see that here. It's creation, it's the 3, it's the growth times 2. And what do you make of this? You know, it's all about finding the story within these cards, and I know that they can mean different things in different times, but for me, often the 6 of Wands is all about thinking of what the 6 is. It's the Tiferet, it's the middle, it's the sun, it's very balanced, it's the most balanced number, not the most perfect number, but the most balanced number. At the same time, it's receptive, but it's 2 times 3, so we are talking about growth. So what does that mean together with the element of fire? That's all about the accomplishment, isn't it? Much more even than the 4. Because the 4 is just like the first good thing, I guess. First really accomplishment, first stability, because 4 means stability. I'm really rushing through these, guys, I'm sorry, but just to give you an idea of how to work with these cards. But you see how that translates here, and then after a while you won't need to do that 1 plus 1 is 2 or actually rather 1 plus 1 is 3. We'll get into that later, I think. You'll just see these cards and recognize what it means. Yeah? Here, there's that ace again that is added, meaning action, outward, meaning the magician, meaning an active number, and the very first number, so it's movement outwards. And this can either mean it's very strong, you bring this perfect number and then you act it, you give it to the world, you use it in an active way, you know, if that works. Otherwise it would still be considered a weaker number. It's really about what you do with it. Over here you can see, this is why I chose the wand suit first. You can see that this is a big cross, and after that there's a cross. Well, 8 wands crossed. Here's 8 wands crossed plus 1, and here's 8 wands crossed plus 2. So really you could say that the 8 of wands, the number 8, is actually the end, of the sequence. This 9 and 10 is really just there to put you out of your comfort zone again, and then to represent the ending of something and the new beginning of something else. So I think that is kind of why, well, there are more reasons, of course, but this is one of the reasons that I found the 8 to be the perfect number. Also, of course, the 8 is the lemniscate, and, well, I can't keep going. This is really just 5 videos in one. And here's the 9 with the disruption again. Can be either positive or negative, this movement outwards. And here there is the 8 plus the 2. So there's actually, maybe you could say, a balance again there, or opposition, really. Depends whether the card is in light or shadow, maybe. And then I'm just going to use the cups very quickly to show you how a receptive element works. in sequence. Here's the beautiful ace. Here we have the 2, which again would mean, I mean, we're talking about the matters of the heart, the love, the emotions, the feelings, the subconscious. 2 coming together. Here we have, yeah, I mean, often you can relate this back to the Rider-Waite-Smith, or rather Rider-Waite-Smith makes a story from these cards, a visual story from these cards, that these are two people falling in love, 2 lovers. And then here you have the 2 lovers again plus the child. So from there actually comes 1 + 1 = 3. That's really that push outward, push forward, and the growth. Then here we get our first stability again. But then there's the question, of course, in the Rider-Waite-Smith, it is seen often quite negative. It doesn't need to be either with that depiction, but often it is seen as I'm bored, or, you know, the typical meaning of that card. But here really it just means look at it also in a different way. It also means maybe you need to be alone. Maybe you need to be in a stable place. Maybe you need to be a little bit away from everything. Maybe you need to be now focusing on a type of emotional rest or emotional recuperation or emotional safety. That's what the 4 stability really gives, doesn't it? 5, there's a new plant growing, and in there, because every plant really, here's a plant, and then this plant becomes this cup. That's the idea. Comes the new cup. So here the plant is birthing a new cup. So that can either mean if you're happy here, this is an unwelcome disruption, or if you're unsatisfied here, then this might be a great change. It's all about context. And here, look at this, the way that they are arranged in a typical Marseille is really that they are very equal, like in the 2, but they do have this 3 straight upward growth, and it's just very balanced. It's the most balanced number. It doesn't have to be about childhood or nostalgia at all, and it also doesn't need to be about anything sexual, like in the Thoth. It can be about whatever your mind gives you from the information of this card. Here, look at that. This plant became this cup. So the 7, we are here with the 7. These 3 like this, as in these 3 are in a row plus 1. Or you can even look at it this way. There are 4 cups, 1 in each corner, which means the stability, plus the 3 of the growth. 1, 2, 3. It's however you see it, yeah? Here's the 8. Looking balanced, but maybe just the fact that it cannot tip over so much anymore. As in here, there's still a kind of a weak center, and here there are 2 in the middle. So that does imply it's a little bit more balanced. And in the cups and in the coins, you cannot easily see that finished thing with the 8 that I found with the wands especially, but also in swords. But over here you can see that the card is perfectly filled. So there is that idea of a very nice balance here. This to me is the finished card, really. But here you can see that they have actually squeezed in an extra one. They added this 10th cup. And usually this cup is closed and there's a pentacle in there. What I was going to say, yes, we've just seen the 10 of cups. This cup is open and it's overflowing the other ones with the beautiful water. It looks like a fountain. But actually in the traditional Marseille, so it is nice to know these things even though you're working with another deck. This cup is closed and this, cork or something looks like a pentacle. So the next suit would be the pentacles. Then there's that whole sequence. And you look at the 10 of pentacles. Let me think, that's not the case in this deck. Again, at least not very clearly. But I believe that there is a white one white stem connecting these middle coins. That brings us to the wands. And then here, in between the two wands, you could say that there's a space for the sword. So we get to the sword suit. And in the Ten of Swords, there's that, in every sword, they are like this. So they kind of look like cups, like a receptive symbol. And then we get all the way back round to the cups, and that is how the sequence is. One option for the sequence of the suit is made in tarot. I think it's okay for now to just have shown you one active element and one receptive element. I just want to show you again, in case you didn't see my last video, that there are some really cool things happening with the swords in the Marseille. When there's two swords next to one another, next to each other, there's this circle, perfect circle that is created. So there's really that connection there. These are really just absolutely beautiful cards. I love them a lot. And if you're interested in learning the Tarot de Marseille, please just go ahead with any deck that has these Marseille compositions. That's all you need. I feel that, I know that this is not a traditional Knight of Cups. I know that this is not a traditional Sun card, even though it kind of does look like it. It's kind of, there are some different elements to it, but especially the chords, they are very different. But this is what I like. This is what I like to work with. Maybe if there is much more traditional Marseille that comes out that has dark cards, dark colors, and a little bit of a creep factor, then I would be interested in actually working with a much more traditional looking Marseille. As you may know, I have started drawing my own kind of more traditional Tarot de Marseille cards. And I'm only doing the pips because that's the only cards that I truly love, that I really love. I mean, I love some majors, but honestly, most of the chords are just, I don't know, they're not really doing it for me. And so it's kind of strange to say that, maybe, having just said how much I love the Tarot de Marseille, but that is how I feel about it. There is so much emphasis on this new, actually way older way of working with these non-scenic pips. That really works for me, actually. I really love that, going in depth in this other way. I really enjoy that. I think I'm just gonna hang back and relax and let you know that I appreciate these types of questions that, give me inspiration for videos that are hopefully helpful. That's the idea here. And yes, please let me know if there are any questions about this subject or something related, or anything related tarot, really, or what I've discussed on my channel so far. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this stuff, please subscribe and leave a comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.